Charlie Burley and Archie Moore had similar careers, and they were labeled both as perhaps the most avoided fighters in boxing history. But Archie Moore would get a shot at the title. Charlie Burley would never get his shot. Now, he was born September 6, 1917, was Charlie Burley, Bismarck, Pennsylvania. As for Archie Moore, he was born December 13th or 12th, 1916 or 1912, based on who you spoke with. He was from Benoit, Mississippi, or St. Louis. Once again, according to who you spoke with. But either man would have the similarities of being avoided by some of the greatest names of their time. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, and I would like to go over that with you right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Now, I have mentioned Charlie Burley among other great fighters. And I have mentioned Archie Moore and how successful he was in his career. But either Archie Moore or Charlie Burley will be treated fairly. You see, Charlie Burley, who was raised in Pennsylvania, died October 16th, 1992. He was 75 years of age at the time of his death. I had the pleasure of meeting him. And he would personally tell me how unfairly treated he was in his sport of pugilism. Archie Moore, I had the pleasure of meeting him as well. And the same story came from the words of Archie Moore. Now, although he became light heavyweight champion in 1952 when he defeated Joey Maxim, but he had faced Joey Maxim several times before that. And it was said to me by Archie Moore that he should have won that title 10 years previous. You see, Archie Moore was ranked number 1 in the middleweight division. And he would not get his shot by Tony Zale. Charlie Burley was ranked as high as number 2 in the middleweight division. And he would not get his shot by Tony Zale. But within those similarities, Charlie Burley did defeat champions such as Fizzy Zivic and Archie Moore. Now, they were not champions at the time, but it goes to show the caliber of fighters they were. Burley would be in a ring with some of the greatest black middleweight row fighters and contenders of his time. He'd fight Holman Williams 9 times. Now, it's recorded that he fought Holman Williams 7 times. They would have 3 victories apiece and 2 draws. But he actually fought him 9 times. And Holman Williams, I have ranked number 1 as the greatest black middleweight fighter of all times. He was in a ring with Burt Littell and Coco Kid and Charlie Burley and Lloyd Marshall, Jack Chase, Jimmy Leto. He was in a ring with Burt Littell. Unbelievable fighter he was. Marcel Sedan and Little Tiger Aaron Wade and Jake LaMotta. You name him, Holman Williams was in the ring with him. Burley was in the ring with Coco Kid. I have him ranked number 1 as the greatest Puerto Rican fighter. Number 3 as the greatest black murderous road fighter. He was in the ring with Holman Williams and Kid Aztaker and Paulie Walker and Kid Herman, Burt Littell, Charlie Burley, Oakland Billy Smith, Jimmy Leto, Little Tiger Aaron Wade. You name him, he was in the ring with him. Burley would also face Lloyd Marshall, one of the greatest light heavyweights of all times. Little Tiger Aaron Wade and Jack Chase. Oh, and also he would face Ezzard Charles. Now, Ezzard Charles was in the ring with Elmer Ray and Holman Williams and Rocky Marciano twice and Oakland Billy Smith, Jersey Joe Walcott 3 times, Joe Louis, Charlie Burley and Bob Satterfield, Turkey Thompson. Phenomenal fighter was Ezzard Charles. But Jimmy Bivens would also be an opponent of Charlie Burley. And I have Jimmy Bivens, one of the greatest light heavyweights of all times. He would be ranked number 1 in the heavyweight division. No, he didn't get a title shot either. But he'd be in the ring with fighters such as Bob Baker and Clarence Henry, Archie Moore and Joey Maxim, Ezzard Charles, and Lee Q. Murray. Jimmy Bivens would be in the ring with Ted Tiger Laurie, Turkey Thompson, Archie Moore. Unbelievable. Oakland Billy Smith was a West Coast fighter. He was the California light heavyweight champion. But before him, you would have Jack Chase. He would own that crown, and he would lose that title to Charlie Burley. But Oakland Billy Smith would be in the ring with Johnny Holman and Harold Johnson, who would become eventually the light heavyweight champion of the world. Burt Littell and Bob Satterfield, who was one of the hardest punchers in boxing history. Oakland Billy Smith would be in the ring with Charlie Burley and Archie Moore. Oakland Billy Smith was some fighter. Aaron Tiger Wade would fight Sam Baruti, who unfortunately would lose his life in 1948 with Ezzard Charles. But Wade would be in the ring with Charlie Burley and Jack Chase and Archie Moore, Sefrino Garcia, Coco Kid, the great Sugar Ray Robinson and Holman Williams. Burt Littell would be another fighter who would face Charlie Burley. He was a black murderous row fighter who didn't get a shot at as well. He was ranked number 1 one time in his career. No, he didn't get a shot either. He'd be in the ring with Major Jones and Leonard Marrow, as well as Archie Moore and Charlie Doc Williams. Jose Basora, fantastic Puerto Rican fighter. Unfortunately, he was knocked out by the great Sugar Ray Robinson. And Burt Littell would also be in the ring with Oakland Billy Smith and Joe Blackwood. Let me tell you something about Joe Blackwood. He was an underrated, underestimated fighter who was originally from Pittsburgh. He would move to Philadelphia. And he was a hell of a fighter. Now, Archie Moore had a fighting career record of 220 total bouts, 186 wins, 132 knockouts, 23 losses. He was stopped 7 times, and he would have 10 draws. But let me tell you who Archie Moore fought. He was in the ring with Jack Chase and Eddie Booker and Little Tiger Aaron Wade several times. He would face Lloyd Marshall, as I stated before, one of the greatest light heavyweights who never got a shot. He would face Jimmy Bivens and Charlie Doc Williams, Holman Williams and Buddy Walker, Coco Kid, Burt Littell, Oakland Billy Smith and Ezzard Charles, as well as Curtis the Hatchet Shepard. He would face Rocky Marciano and Muhammad Ali, Howard King and Willie Pastrana, Yvonne Durrell. Yvonne Durrell was a Canadian. He was a fisherman. But he would give Archie Moore all he can handle. One of the greatest fights in boxing history. Both men went down several times. And Archie Moore showed his mettle. He would get up and he would knock out Yvonne Durrell. Moore would be in the ring with Charlie Norcus. Charlie Norcus would have one of the greatest ring wars with a fighter by the name of Danny Nardico. Both men went down several times. They would have a 2-fight series. Phenomenal fight between Charlie Norcus and Danny Nardico. Matter of fact, Danny Nardico was the first man who would put down the Bronx Bull. The Bronx Bull was an outstanding fighter. And he would lose his title in the middleweight championship division in 1951 to the great Sugar Ray Robinson. The Bronx Bull was Jake LaMotta. And Moore would also face Floyd Patterson in 1956. And he would win the light heavyweight championship of the world. And Floyd Patterson would lose eventually to Sonny Liston. Archie Moore would fight Tony Anthony and J.J. Parker, Yolande Pompey, Oakland Billy Smith, Edward Charles. These are names that you can't make up. But Archie Moore was in a ring with them. Now Archie Moore would face Charlie Burley April 21st, 1944 in St. Louis, Missouri. This was a middleweight fight. Archie Moore was 161 pounds of pure muscle. And Charlie Burley would come in the ring weighing 159 pounds. They would fight at the Legion Stadium in Hollywood. Burley would take it to the right, and he would take it to the left. When that bell rang, he went straight to the old mongoose, and he would drop him straight to the canvas for a count of 5. And this would happen in the very first round. Archie Moore would be dropped for a count of 8 in the third round. And after getting up, he would shake his head, and his left leg would go weak. His corner would ask him, "What's going on, Archie Moore?" And Archie Moore said, "The man in front of me, perhaps one of the greatest fighters that I have ever faced." And this was only in the third round. The bell would ring for the end of the third round. And between the corners of fight instructions, once again, they asked him, "What's wrong, Archie Moore?" He said, "I don't know, that my left leg is stiff and my right eye is a little blurry, but I can still fight. Let me at him, let me at him." And Archie Moore would be dropped in the fourth round. He'd be dropped for a 7 count. Charlie Burley was always in control, but couldn't finish the old vet, because Archie Moore had a crab-like defense that was very difficult to deal with. When asked later on about Charlie Burley to Archie Moore by the old-time trainer Eddie Futch, "What's this young man like?" Archie Moore would state that Charlie Burley was perhaps the greatest fighter, not only that I faced, and I was in a ring with Archie Moore. I was in a ring with Rocky Marciano. Excuse me. I'm quoting Archie Moore. I was in a ring with Oakland Billy Smith and Lloyd Marshall and Jimmy Bivens and Coco Kid, Burt Littell, Holman Williams, Floyd Patterson, Rocky Marciano, Tony Anthony, Edward Charles, and Charlie Burley was perhaps the greatest. And when Charlie Burley was interviewed, He was asked, "What do you most regret about your career?" He said, "Well, I never got a shot at Sugar Ray Robinson. Never got a shot at Henry Armstrong. Yeah, I was in the ring with Fitzy Civic 3 times. I lost one but defeated him twice. I was in the ring with Holman Williams several times and Coco Kid. Yeah, we swapped the color titles back and forth. I never did get shot at the title. But the one thing I can say," says Charlie Burley, "that old mongoose has some heart. He showed me things in the ring that I have never seen before. He was deserving of the title even more than me." As humble as that sounds, Charlie Burley was not only a phenomenal fighter, but he was a phenomenal humanitarian. Now, as I stated, I met Charlie Burley and Archie Moore. Both characters. But I can basically tell you, and speaking with both of them, and speaking with old-time trainers and old-time fighters, my dad and historians, you are looking at perhaps two of the greatest fighters that never got the right opportunities that they deserved. And yes, I've always given Sam Langford, who I have ranked number 1, as the greatest fighter of all times, and Harry Wills and Joe Jeanette. I've talked about the Black Prince, Peter Jackson, and all the great old-time fighters of the past. I've mentioned Benny Leonard and Tony Canzoneri and the Scotch Wop, Johnny Dundee. I've talked about the great Harry Greb, who fought most of his career with one eye. Well, so did Joe Frazier. I've discussed Tiger Flowers, an unfortunate death in 1926 after he won the title in defeating Harry Greb twice. We know about Jack Dempsey and Gene Tunney. We know about Sam McVeigh and the great fight he had in 1909 with Joe Jeanette. Archie Moore and Charlie Burley, perhaps two of the greatest in the entire history of the game. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Acknowledging these two great fighters. No, they never won a title. Yes, Archie Moore did in the light heavyweight division. But he should have been a middleweight champion. He should have been a light heavyweight champion, possibly a heavyweight champion. Charlie Burley became light heavyweight champion of California when he would defeat Jack Chase. He should have been welterweight, middleweight, and light heavyweight champion of the world. Salute to those great fighters. Salute to my subscribers. Salute to Charlie Burley and Archie Moore.